Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Daddy Issues. Today we got on Eric. He's another father who kind of went through a rough situation and turned it around. He is now helping dads. He started his own podcast and definitely more to come from him. But this is a great episode. He's really trying to give back and give back to fathers. So take a listen. Hey, what's going on, man?
It's going good. Just trying to figure out this camera situation
Yeah, no worries.
close up. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
So how long have you been doing this podcast? I haven't really done, normally I take the time to kind of,
Research a little bit. Yeah. So I actually I started it maybe about a year ago. I was going through a tough time with my ex, and the only thing that really helped me was I made one video explaining my story, and it was like
Yep.
all this weight kind of came off my chest, just me talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
And it really helped because I'm more the type to bottle stuff inside and I'll keep it for a while and like
well,
I don't
typical
release
men,
it.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Yep.
that's what men do.
Yep. So when I did that, I was like, oh my God, this really helped me. And then I was like, let's turn this into like a podcast. Let's actually try to, get some more episodes
Yeah.
out. And then I started talking with other dads and same thing. And, some of them are really going through some crazy shit. But it's like them just
Oh, yeah.
talking about it and kind of building a little community around it was great. So it really
Yeah,
helped
there's
out.
there's power in getting things out of your head. That's why journaling is so powerful.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the act of it, I mean, just doing it and having to actually consciously think about what you're thinking about and try to get it down on paper is such a relief, and it also brings a lot of clarity too.
Yeah. My situation was so bad. I would journal. I would write down like how what my daughters did, how their day went, what was kind of
Yeah.
happening with us. And it was like I'm not a writer. I don't journal. But during that process, I was like, it did help a lot. So and then I started doing the podcast.
So how many years has that kind of passed you now?
So I'm on 5.5 years right now. We're still in court. We're still going through it.
Still in court?
Oh,
Wow.
it's crazy. And what sucks is my kids are just getting older and older and older, and I'm kind of just we have like a 60-40 split, so I am losing time, but I'm not losing like, a crazy amount of time. But yeah, just the court system in New Hampshire is terrible. They're so backed
No,
up.
look, here's the thing, man. I don't know if you're in any big international Facebook groups for men. It's terrible everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
People always go, "Oh, my court system's the worst." No, man, it is everywhere.
yeah,
They're like kangaroo courts, and you got to, it all depends on the judge
right.
and your lawyers, and I don't know how much. I mean, I imagine you've probably observed lawyer behavior quite a bit
Oh
since
yeah.
you've been in this process so long, but those guys are way too chummy with each other.
Oh yeah.
I
Whoa.
I
Right.
think one of the best pieces of advice that a guy could do is, if he can afford it. I mean, it's more expensive, but get an out of county lawyer. Get somebody that's not chummy with the system, that
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to gain or lose by making somebody happy or sad in court. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. I mean, they come out on top regardless, because you're just paying them, and then
Oh
they're
yeah,
yeah, it's fucking
it's a
rat
terrible,
race.
it's a terrible system.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened with you? What made you kind of start wanting to do a podcast? And I saw on your Facebook you kind of got other men will phone call you in and have a conversation with you.
Yeah, so I just did that. So I'm in the midst of building a coaching business, but one of the things that I really value in life are people that give themselves away, and so I'm trying to emulate that. And so these phone calls that I'm inviting men on, it's literally me just having a conversation with men. I'm not trying to pitch them. There's no backdoor offer. Sometimes, I've had quite a few so far, and I'm like booked up for a month. But sometimes men will ask me, what I do, and I'll tell them what I do. and I'll say, look, if you want to talk about that, we can schedule another call, but I'm keeping the integrity of this call for what it is.
Yeah.
It's really just to give, give men an opportunity to be heard, and try and understand what's going on with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised on how many men kind of go through this. That the Facebook groups are huge, 30, 40,000 in some of them. It's like a lot of men are dealing with this.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a ton of groups out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been kicked out of some because they just didn't like the fact that I was, they saw me as like promoting something or whatever, and really the intent of my heart is to help men.
Yeah.
But I don't even care. It's like there's so many groups.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done the same. I've posted this podcast before on one of them. One of the guys in the group actually came on, and then so I shared his story, and they took it down, and I was like, he was like, oh, where'd it go? What happened with it? I'm like, I think they blocked it. I don't know why. I think what the hell? So it's
and look, I get it to some degree, right? Because I'm in some groups that there's really no monitoring. Posts don't get approved. Everything goes on, and basically two things happen. It's a total pitch fest. Every coach and everything that's related to that group is posting and pitching, and then there's a bunch of junk too, right? And so it kind of becomes like a Craigslist of single dads groups,
Yeah.
But still, I'm posting in there, and the intent of my heart is right, and I'm getting guys to reach out,
Yeah.
A lot of guys are suspicious, and I get that. Whatever,
Yeah.
So I'm looking for certain types of men that are ready to get outside of themselves and start engaging,
Now, did you start just the phone calls and then figured you should turn it into a podcast?
No, so actually all three things are completely unrelated. The coaching business I started a while back, and I'm really just still in, I think about it as in development mode. I don't have a client yet. I've been developing a lot of my marketing up front, lead generation, stuff like that. The podcast came about because I was in a 5-day challenge for ClickFunnels. And during that 5-day challenge, I reached out and created a men's accountability group. And that grew to about 22 men. And it's boiled down to about 5 now. And we meet every week.
Oh, wow.
And in that group is where I met a guy that we just had a lot of things that we aligned on. He's over in the UK. And so we just started talking more and more and more, and just kind of led to this podcast that we're doing together. So, and then this idea to just give men an opportunity to have a conversation, just I don't know where that came from, just some kind of whim of inspiration, and I decided, what the heck, But I know where it comes from. It comes from my desire to just give, kind of give parts of myself away.
Yeah.
And so that's really it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you had to have gone through something as a breakup. Or
my timeline is similar to yours. My wife and I separated at the very end of 2016, and then our court and custody process was pretty well finalized by 2018. And so, it was a pretty devastating process for me, primarily because of the custody stuff. The failed marriage. I know that has a cost, right, to your heart and soul and mind and everything. But I was over it, and I had been for probably 3 years prior to us separating.
Yeah.
So that was not as difficult of a thing. That just required healing and time and that kind of stuff. But the custody thing, so she really came after me, basically tried to ruin me financially, tried to completely take my daughter away from us or from me. And it was just a really tough time. And, through that, I really kind of lost myself. I almost lost my business. I was in a different business at the time. And wow, man, it's like the darkest place I've ever been in my life.
Right. And it's tough because I hear a lot of men, I hear a lot of men that go through this, and it almost always seems like the men just want time with their kids. The women are the ones who really sit there and try to take the kids away from the men, and they don't want anything to do with them. And at the end of the day, it just hurts the child. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not to have them grow up without a father or any type of male figure in their life is just not good.
Yeah, I think children always take it on the chin in these situations, but I think there's a lot more collateral damage with these kind of situations than sometimes meets the eye. So my ex's family, even though at one point in life they completely loved me, thought I was the best thing for her, and all those kinds of things, right? All of a sudden, now they change course and they all speak against me.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting to watch in the years kind of after things, the main court trial and everything was over, in the years after that, it was really interesting to watch what happened, because I just continued, like I just made a decision. My first action step, so to speak, that helped me to start recovering was I started going to in-person business networking groups, which is something I had done in the past. So I was familiar with that. And I thought, this is going to help me kind of force me to start being more social and just, get out of my shell, get out of my own headspace. So that was the first action I took. And I would highly recommend that to anybody that's in business, and even if you're not in business, find some way to just force yourself in front of people, because it'll help you get out of your own headspace. But what I watched with her and her family and her new husband is car crashes, severe health issues, all kinds of unknown health. Like I'm not saying God did all this, because that's not how I believe at all. But the lives of these people that spoke against me and tried to steal my daughter away from me, their lives came undone.
Right.
And I'm sure I don't even know all of it. I know from some of the few things that I saw to what my daughter told me.
Yeah.
It's
almost like a little bit of karma.
Well, I don't believe in all that, but
right.
I think what I do believe in is you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And when you try to steal a man's child unjustly away from him, there's going to be a cost to that in a person's heart and soul, and it's going to work to destroy you. And I think that they got what they reaped what they sowed.
Yeah.
My ex's husband totaled no less than 3 cars.
Oh wow, totaled.
Totaled. Yeah. And lots of other issues. So it was just interesting, interesting to watch that. I think that, I think that when the way you move through life will, taking the high road, doing the right thing, what they should have done was understand that I was the best thing that happened in this little girl's life.
Right.
But instead, they went to the dark side and said, no, we need to take this little girl away from him.
Yeah. Now, when did she get remarried? Or how long after you guys separated did she get remarried?
Oh man, this is nuts. So we literally separated, I think it was like the last week of December of 2016, and somewhere in that first or second week of January, she was with a guy.
Oh wow. So that also you have to be thinking like that was happening during our.
Well, yeah, looking back, I think she wasn't being faithful.
Yeah.
But I can't prove it, and frankly, I don't even care.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, she got together with this guy within a couple weeks, and then ends up moving in with him and was with him for like 5 months. Then she claimed he was abusing her and blah blah blah. It was all a lie. I ended up making friends with this guy. He provided some really damning evidence for me in court, regarding her. But then she breaks up with him, and like probably 2 or 3 weeks later, then she's with the guy that she ends up marrying, and now they've been together for several years, but now that they're not doing well at all.
Right.
Their life is terrible. They fight all the time. They're talking about separating, but in court, they were the model couple.
Of course. Yep. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's again, I think that's part of reaping what you sow. She just jumps from men to men to men, and I intentionally just took a lot of time off.
Yeah.
And now, I've gotten really comfortable with being single. I'm on the hunt, In fact, I have a date tonight.
Hell
It's
yeah.
not a date. It's more of what I call a meet and greet. You
Yeah.
know, we met online, so we're just gonna go get in the same space and see what we think about each other. But my mindset around women is so different. You know, because I think in the past, like a lot of guys, you know, you kind of fall into that trap of just being all consumed by a woman too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you lose perspective. And so my intentionality about remaining single for a long period of time was simply to just kind of wash myself of all that, get my head screwed on straight, and now I'm approaching dating very differently. You know, I don't get super emotionally involved with anybody right away.
Yeah.
I just try to keep it in perspective and that kind of thing. But maybe that's a different topic. But man, I listen and read what men say about how they're approaching relationships. I'm like, oh man, they're not just walking into trouble; they're sprinting into trouble.
Right. You kind of already know how it's going to play out. So, and that's that's good to be able to talk to them and it's hard to talk them out of it sometimes, but
Yeah,
definitely good to at least open their eyes a little and tell them.
yeah, but maybe if they realize that you knew what they were doing before they did it,
Yeah.
maybe after the fact they'll start to realize they need some wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the biggest problem in male female relationships is that women end up with all the power for the most part, and men cause it. You know, I'm holding men 100% responsible for this because they give it all away
Right.
immediately. You know, and then women get bored with all that and
That's exactly what I think it is. Women get bored.
they get bored.
Yep. And then they'll either
If I could say
step
one
out.
thing, there's one word that I would say to men to enhance your relationship, whether you're dating or looking like I am or you're married, is the word is challenge. If a woman doesn't have challenge, maybe mystery is a different way of saying that, but challenge, they're going to get bored and they're going to treat you a certain way.
Yep.
They're going to be dismissive and disrespectful and bossy and all kinds of issues because you allow them to become bored.
Yeah. No, I
That's maybe
totally
something
agree.
that's a little bit different about me is I put all the responsibility on men. I hear most men, I don't want to say most, I don't want to be too overgeneral. Far too many men are blaming women for their problems. And that's literally a man giving his power away.
Yeah.
And that's like the heart of victimhood.
Well, you even said at the beginning for men to take accountability for what they're doing.
Yeah, personal responsibility is
Yep.
huge. You know, one of my working philosophies, people think I'm crazy for this. Some people think I'm crazy for this, is that everything is my fault.
Yeah.
That's just the way I roll through life. Everything's my fault.
Yep.
So that way, when everything's great, well, guess what? That's
on
my
you.
fault too.
Yep. Yep.
If there's something I don't like, well, guess what? I get to change it.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, no matter what situation you're in life and anything, you are the only one who can change that. You're the only one who can move differently. So 100% I agree with that. It's on the person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to give a shout out to your podcast and your group?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. It's really easy. Our website is allieddads.com. So just the word allied and then dads.com. Just go there. You can find everything about me and our podcast links. And so that's really it. And, you know, we're at the very beginning stages of this thing. We've only got 3 podcasts out there, but we're doing it right. And we're getting better as we go. And so our goal is just to serve men.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I was so mad and frustrated in the beginning of my split up and whatever, that during this whole process, I did the podcast, but I actually ended up starting to build a website to help single dads. I'll share that with you, but it's daddyissuesusa.com. But it's in the process, working on it. But it has all the states. It has different, things for dads, for filing, parenting plans,
Oh, so
all that
you're
stuff.
trying to create some like a resource
Yeah,
as
like a
well. Yeah. All
resource
right, cool.
platform. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
but would love I'll send it to you, and would love some advice and
Yeah,
to throw on there.
so the guy I'm doing this podcast with, his name's Steve Swift. And we're talking about interviewing people. So man, I'd love to maybe reciprocate and bring you onto ours
I
and
love it.
hear all about what you're doing, because we're all about resources too, but we're kind of doing some different resources. It sounds like I don't know what's the nature of the resources that you're trying to compile for men.
So for me, I mean, one is obviously the podcast, kind of just talking with men and helping them with that. But the website is more of a platform where they can, if they're looking for it, has attorneys, near them in every state. It has, financial affidavits, parenting plans, things like that. So it's more of a easier place to find what they're looking for court or something like that. I guess it would mainly be for like if they're going through court or something.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful because when you're in the midst of it and you're trying to find things or get your head wrapped around what you need to do, it's tough.
Yeah, and the tough thing I need is reach out to a lot of people who have had these attorneys in their state and kind of hopefully they'll give me them, and then I can put them on the website, because it's tough when you get the wrong attorney and you're kind of just blowing money and it's not getting you anywhere. You don't just want to hire any old attorney. You want to get somebody who's really good. So
yeah, I think there are, just because I've heard so many stories that seem to correlate, where there's a lot of attorneys that have kind of figured out the game of how to kind of churn and just kind of keep things in play as long as possible, right?
Yeah.
It's not about going to court once and knocking it out. It's about how many court visits can we do and how many delays, and because they're getting paid all the way through,
right.
and I think unfortunately there's a lot of attorneys playing that game.
Yeah, it's tough, and it sucks too. The whole court system, when you go in, you only get sometimes 15 minutes on this side, 15 minutes on this side, or a half hour here, a half hour there, and it's like you can't tell your whole story. Even like you said with your ex and her husband now, or I don't know if it was the boyfriend before, but they were model citizens. But it's like, because it was 30 minutes or whatever it was of them sitting there, acting right, and you don't have the time to really tell your whole story of what's really going on. I don't know if you had a GAL or anything like that, but it's the same thing. I was talking with my wife now, and I was like, it's so bullshit to have the GAL, because he schedules the appointment. He doesn't just show up, and which I think they should just show up and really see how the house is.
I agree.
But when you schedule it, it's like they have time to clean, they have time to organize everything, and it's like it's just a fake impression of their life.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Again, just part of the system that's broken and not really serving children and not really serving justice.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I would love to jump on yours for sure.
I'll definitely reach out to you in that regard. Let us we'll get our sticks on the ground, and then because we're kind of laying a foundation with certain principles and things about what we're about, and then
awesome.
I'd love to have you on it. I think you'd be a good fit for what we're trying to do.
That'd be great. What are you guys using to upload your podcast? Like Libsyn
I'm
or
currently
anything?
using the Spotify for podcasters. Steve, my partner, is kind of doing a lot of the technical stuff on the back end.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a marketing guy at heart, so I'm writing content and building. I built out all of our YouTube channel and Facebook page and doing the website stuff and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're just our skill sets mesh pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good to have one guy doing one thing and then you can work on the other. That works perfect. That's great.
Yeah, and I have a podcast idea that would just really be like for my business that I want to do. So it's been fun to kind of walk through this podcast developing process with somebody else. Now
Definitely.
I feel like it'd be a lot easier to do it on my own.
Yeah, it's good. I used to have a buddy who did it with me when we first started, and it was great. Same with you. Like you had a guy with great chemistry. You guys worked good together, and that was with me too. He was great, and then he kind of like did his own thing. I would rather have a co-host or someone else with me instead of me, keeping the conversations going and stuff like that. It's much easier.
Yeah, there's something about it. So are you primarily doing like an interview format then, or do you do some solo podcasts as well?
Yeah, so it's more, I more have a interview and just talk with someone else. I haven't really done any solo podcasts. I don't even know what I would talk about by myself. But I mean, I'm actually doing making a documentary about, my situation and the whole father, single dad kind of thing.
It's super interesting. I've had conversations or read posts from men that are, they were so impacted by how poor the court system is and how dramatic their experience was, that they're like, they were moved to kind of live the rest of their life trying to help others in regards to that.
That's exactly what happened with me. Like I was pushed so far, and I was just like, this is getting ridiculous. And so I felt like I had to do something. But it feels great. It feels great.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Hey, if I can just put in a last little pitch, I wear this shirt and it says Hope Dealer. So if you're a man and you're listening to this, and you maybe feel like you're just lacking hope, I guarantee you that there is hope. You just got to reach out. The only thing you have to do is just reach out. Try to connect with some other men, whether it's one of us or somebody. Just make that connection with people, because that'll help you feel more hope. And when you have hope, you've got like a mission in life. When you lose all your hope, then that's where life gets really dark.
Yeah, definitely. Well, great advice, Eric. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll definitely keep in touch for sure.
Yeah, sounds great, man. I appreciate you.
Awesome. All right, have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Later.